BQ Sunday morning. This is Bob Brown, BQ Press. We are thrilled today because we've got three wonderful writers here. This is BQ Sunday Brunch. It's the day that I turn it over to women who seem to be able to do it better than I can. And that's Phyllis Irene Radford, author of The Glass Dragon.
Which is coming out at the end of June. New
Yay!
issue.
Reissue. Yay!
That's the ISBN today, so it's going to formatting.
Yeah, The Glass Dragon is it almost fits the cult classic. It's been out there so long, but it's so well received. And I tell you, before I go into anything else, I'll just say hi, Joyce.
Hi.
And hi, Brenda.
Hi.
And I am going to leave you, Pat Rice, renowned mystery writer, renowned all the
urban
other
fantasy, romance,
Mostly Regency historical romance.
That's what I'm most known for, yeah.
I'm reading Wicked Wickerly right now, and I'm loving every minute of it.
It's the kid, isn't it?
The kids.
Yeah.
Yep. Another one to add to my hold list at the library, at the ebook library.
You just missed the free sale. You could have had it for free a few days ago.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I end up missing a lot of those.
The reason I suggested Pat as our guest this morning is because it's tax season. Yes, before Pat found her passion with writing, she was an accountant.
Oh God!
And even though she no longer does taxes for anybody but herself and the Book View Cafe, which is a cooperative publishing, she knows how to do taxes for an independent writer. And that's something that anybody that's self-employed, anybody who's even thinking about a writing career, you have to consider your taxes.
Yes.
And bookkeeping. And it is a business, even though you think you're just going to be an artiste and everybody will take care of it for you. They don't. You have to learn to do at least some of it yourself. Now, I hire an accountant because I have multiple streams of income, and I don't understand the vocabulary, and it's easier just to pay someone to handle it. But
you do bookkeeping, don't you? You keep track of your stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I do my own bookkeeping.
Yes.
And do as I say, not as I do. Keeping all of your receipts in one place. It's best to record them as they come in or once a month. I usually wait until the week before taxes are due and do the whole year.
Do we all?
No, it's not. Do it like I said. Do as I say, not as I do. I have got all my bookkeeping done right now because I'm going to have surgery tax week, and so I can't do it at the last minute.
And I have been a small business bookkeeper in the past. My husband, former dairy farmer, economics degree, former salesperson for a large casting corporation, does our books. Although he we have occasionally handed them out to an accountant, but he likes the control. As long as TurboTax behaves.
Yes.
TurboTax.
That is you're at the mercy of TurboTax and all its funsies if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, he knows what he knows what he's doing for someone who does not do it for other people.
Right. But for our audience, it's important to know at least dimly what's going on so that
Brenda,
whether you're relying on a computer program or whether you're hiring a human being, you have some idea of what's happening, because you can read plenty of stories of people who are taken to town by their tax preparers or accountants. And you're signing off on that tax form. you put your name at the bottom of it. If it's not accurately done, the IRS comes to talk to you, not your accountant.
Yes,
The real problem is that most accountants do not understand writing income. They do not understand
Yes.
the expenses.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
your accountant's going to be very conservative. He's not going to take the things that are actually deductible.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, you probably won't get audited, but you'll probably pay a lot more taxes than you should.
Yeah, there's a, I mean,
Yeah.
one of the thing, the other thing was that I have also had craft income and
Mhm.
dealt with the joy of the Schedule C. Well, when you're doing beading,
Mhm.
and some people used to do their inventory by weight. Back in the 90s, I didn't have a handy little scale to weigh, so I tracked everything bead by bead. Now, we're not talking the little seed beads that you think of when you think of native beading. I'm talking about stone beads, so at least I had that. But
Yeah.
it's still managing the depreciation, the cost of goods
Inventory,
sold.
yeah.
Inventory. Thank God you don't
Oh.
have to do inventory with books like in the same manner. Oh dear God. My jewelry
Yeah.
Schedule
Now,
C drove me crazy.
One of the
Yeah.
reasons
Pat, you have,
go ahead.
I was going to ask Pat, you've written a lot of books
Mhm.
and you have probably several copies of every one of them somewhere. Do you
I had a
count
whole lot more of that before
inventory
we
of
moved to
books that you
California.
may take to a fair and say,
Mhm.
oh,
I can't hear. What was that?
yeah, you divested yourself of a lot of inventory. Yeah.
That
So,
wasn't
but
inventory because most of the
should
books
we,
most of the books I had were free books.
Mhm.
So those aren't inventory.
Mhm.
And neither is my library. That library is a depreciable asset.
Mhm.
So I never had inventory.
Mhm.
So what was your question?
Yeah, I've never counted it. Basically, should an author be keeping track of all of the copies of their own books? Now, when I was still working as a hybrid author from DAW, I would get 25 copies of each book as they came out.
It was
And
free.
then when they went out of print, I'd get like 2 more cases of books.
Mhm. But you didn't pay for any of
And
that,
so
did you?
um, uh, no,
So
none of the
there's
book,
no
they were
inventory
part
cost
of
involved.
my contract.
There was no inventory cost involved. And by
Okay.
contract, most
Okay.
of those books were not supposed to be sold. They were supposed to be given away. If you sold them, you still don't have inventory. I mean, it's an
Yeah.
income, but there's no inventory involved.
Oh, okay. That because I hear on Facebook and on the Book View Cafe forum of people having to count copies for inventory, and why?
That's probably
But
because they are
just
doing print on
I'm
demand.
divesting myself.
Yeah, if they're doing print on demand and
Yeah,
paying
could
for
be.
them
I
themselves.
only keep like 2 or yeah. Yeah, I only keep 2 or 3 copies of my POD books, but I am currently divesting myself of shelves of books, like what's behind me. Those are all copies of my own books, and I have cases of them. I
When I had a
just was
basement, I had a
given
basement full.
the yeah, I was just given the email of the people at the Boys and Girls Club who might want some of them, and I'm strongly suggesting let's do a book club. We'll all read the same book at the same time and discuss it. And I have enough copies to do that.
Good thinking.
So, but what else should we be doing? Pat, what should we be counting that we don't necessarily have to? or
I have no idea what people are
kind of
counting.
receipts
I
do you
mean,
keep?
if you are buying cases of your own books, print-on-demand books, uh, I would simply write it off as an expense in the year
Yeah,
that I bought it.
that's what I do because I'm totally independent. So when I order books from Ingram, it goes on my spreadsheet as well, expense. I bought this many
That's sold.
books. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I don't keep an inventory of my books because I expense them as I buy them.
You go, right. Unless you're talking, if you're making $1,000 a year and you're expensing $1,000 in books, then you might want to keep track of it. But,
Right. Yeah.
otherwise it's insignificant.
Oh, Pat, that's another issue that
Yeah.
probably we should talk about is the hobby bit about claiming a loss too many years in a row.
I haven't done the CPA thing in decades,
I was
but
wrong about that.
it used to be if you had a loss for 3 years out of 5, you could still be a Schedule C. But if you are if it's 5 years in a row, you're losing money. Your hobby.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the same thing. And one of the points I really wanted to make was all your questions are answered on irs.gov. Go to irs.gov and you will find everything you ever wanted to know, including forms you can fill out without having to, go to an office supply store. So all these questions that I haven't had to answer in decades, I can pull up on irs.gov. Your Schedule C instructions, all right there. If hobby, you can type in hobby and it'll tell you what the current years are on it. But if you're losing money every single year, you are a hobby.
Yeah.
And if you do not want to be a hobby, let's get rid of the expenses and just show the income.
Right. There are certain years where I have not claimed all of my expenses, and then there are years when I claim them all. But my husband was suggesting that I make the point that you just did, Pat, especially in relation to TurboTax, which his thing was just because they do it for you doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to the irs.gov and understand. I mean, he does that because he used to, like I said, he used to do the taxes for the dairy back in the day before computers. So he has the knowledge to know where to go on irs.gov now.
Because TurboTax isn't going to tell you can deduct your library. It isn't going to tell you, it asks, do you have expenses? And it's not going to tell you what kind of expenses. So you need to know this information yourself, and irs.gov will tell you.
Also, too, the other thing is when you're keeping your spreadsheet. Anyway, when you're doing your spreadsheets, try to make them to match what is reported on the forms. I mean, I have two spreadsheets.
Yeah.
I have the spreadsheet that I'm using. I have the spreadsheet that I use for things like I'm tracking what income is coming in from what stream. The IRS doesn't care about that part.
And
unless
so you're that's 1099.
Yeah.
The monthly dollars that dribble in from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Draft to Digital, they need to match the 1099 that the corporation sends you at the end of the year. And my accountant has learned not to even bother with looking at the 1099 because I keep track of what hits my checking account better than Amazon keeps track of what they're sending me.
Well, the other thing too,
I had to train my accountant.
Yeah, the other thing too is that Draft to digital, their 1099s depend on where your payment is going. My payments all go to PayPal.
Yeah.
And so PayPal only
Mhm.
counts certain types of income as 1099. So if my 1099, so if my PayPal payment shows up as a friends and family, it doesn't, draft to
Mhm.
digital does not count that as 1099 income. So, and you have to earn, I think it is 500 in non 1099. The other thing is I have a business PayPal account, not a personal PayPal account that
Mhm.
is a hangover
Yeah.
from my
Now,
day.
I don't have. Yeah.
So
Technically,
I no longer
D2D
have a
is
separate
supposed to
checking
be
account.
royalties are of $10 or more. They're supposed to send a 1099, and they're not.
yeah,
Neither is
Yeah.
PayPal. I don't think they
Yeah.
I don't know if PayPal has
Yeah.
special rules.
Yeah.
they do. It basically last year they gave me a 1099. This year they did not because a number of my payments came in as friends and family, and they are only flagging ones that don't
Mhm.
come in as friends and family.
Mine is a business account, and they didn't send me a 1099 either.
Yeah. I think they set their threshold for sending out
Yeah.
1099 at 500.
Okay.
And so that's what another reason
Yeah.
why, like
I
Phil
think
said, you keep
I have
track of your
everything go.
Yeah.
Was it Phil?
What'd you
Yeah.
say?
I have my bookseller income comes directly to my checking account. Bookview Cafe, BQ Press, short story sales all come in through PayPal. But I keep track of it,
Yeah.
and they go into my my spreadsheet.
Well, I keep track of them,
Yeah.
but when I
So-
do my TurboTax, I make sure I put the 1099 amount on those 1099s and let it total up. And then whatever the actual difference is, and there's always a difference because
Right.
Kobo doesn't send 1099s because they're in Canada. So there's always and Apple refuses to send them. I don't know how they get away with it. But there's always a difference, and I just put that in there as additional income. So here's your 1099 income, and here's your other income, and then it comes up to my bank account, which is what makes the difference to the IRS.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically it. If you can
Mhm.
account in some way for each part of your income, then the IRS is very happy. Well, this is a 2023 problem, but I had I ended up holding a horse for the farrier, and the owner of the horse paid me what I thought was a huge amount for that service. But now I have to figure out for next year how I'm going to account for that. Maybe I'll just call it writing income and leave it. It
Make
doesn't,
it easy, yeah.
make,
Additional income.
yeah, it's additional income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I'm not claiming.
Miscellaneous. Yeah.
A lot of things fall under miscellaneous expense
Yeah.
also.
Now, several years ago, yeah, but several years ago, Bob and I threw a launch party at Oricon. We each had something come out, and I didn't know how to record the expense of purchasing cake and punch ingredients and other snacky foods and decorations. And my accountant just added an event column to my
Nice.
spreadsheet.
Okay.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, I can do that. So if I have, if I buy a special dress for the party, that I'm not going to wear ever again, well, that's not going to happen. But, or, at one time she had clients who were deducting having their hair done and their hair and nails done for a special event.
She
And I
allow
thought,
that?
no, well, I don't do that, but
I know, but
Pardon?
if it's personal.
nowadays she didn't. This was
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Phil's freezing.
But I mean, this was was it a gal who sold Mary Kay, where she'd go into the home and at a little party, she'd take off having her hair done.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
know
I
how
mean,
the accountants that
isn't it?
of two of the businesses that I worked for, and I ended up leaving them because of this. They were into the whole motive. I get to deduct my life. And I mean,
Yeah,
it
a lot of
when
people
it
do
got
that.
down to doing, oh, my lingerie is a deductible expense. I looked at her and she said, my accountant allows it. And I went, okay, I don't think I can completely be on board with this, but I will record it. And I left that. That was
See,
I was
I used to do the tax when an IRS would send out a letter and say an audit letter and have clients come in because they really love cash paying farmers. I did this frequently. I would go in with the receipts. So I'm sitting there with receipts. If I'm sitting there with receipts for lingerie and hairdressing, the IRS is going to laugh in my face. So
Mhm.
these accountants must not have spent a lot of time sitting there with the IRS.
I don't think so. And this
Yeah.
was a soft furnishings business, the people that make your Roman shades and your your slip covers, all of that kind of thing. Yeah, it was a big red flag for me, but at the time it was a nice little piece of yeah, yeah, it was definitely
A lot of people do it. I mean, it's difficult sometimes to be able to differentiate. Your accountant is the one who's supposed to be able to tell you because your accountant is the one who has to go talk to the IRS and explain it to them. And then they have to come back and explain to you why you're going to have to pay $1,000 more in taxes and fines if they throw it all out. So if you want to put your lingerie in the tax return, go ahead, but
but be prepared.
be prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the office expense.
Mhm.
That's tricky. Let's send them to irs.gov for that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just
My accountant allowed me an extra 16 square feet because in my living room, one wall is floor to ceiling bookcases. It's the only place for all those research books. And so she gave me, like the 8 feet by 2 feet as additional office, as well as, the 10 by 12 room.
I have not
Um,
kept up with the regulations. She's probably better on top of it. It had to be a defined area. You
yeah,
had to, the office space had to be within certain walls, and everything within those walls has to be office. You can't have your personal computer, your gaming computer. It had to be just office.
yeah.
I don't know if that has changed, but to me, that's perfectly logical to have your bookcase as part of your office because you need it.
Yeah. I mean, and what I keep on those bookcases is strictly
Mhm.
research books. They're all nonfiction. And the stuff in the office is all copies of my own books. Now on these, but last year I did not take an office because our medical expenses were so high
Ah,
that I didn't need the office space as a deduction. I
simplify
think
life.
this year is going to be the same same thing. Where the medical file folder is like this thick, and the writing one is this thick this year. But because of COVID, I'm not going to conventions anymore. I'm not traveling. I'm not doing author signing events or anything like that. I'm not going to Barnes and Noble every other week to buy books. I'm ordering them online. So my writing expenses have gone way, way down. And if you are making more money than I am at your writing, you have to start weighing the balance. I'll show a small profit at least once every 5 years, whether I got it or not, simply by
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so
deducting
that
the
you can still
office or
be a
not.
business. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's
So
kind of what I do too. Is I I I look at my expenses and go, well, okay, I can, and it goes back and forth. This
yeah.
year, I'm definitely going to be listing the SIFWA expense, the alley expense, the going to the nebulas virtually expense.
Set up a
Because,
computer for that.
yeah, but I'm also at the
Yeah.
point where I'm going to probably start spending money on headphones, for example, because I do enough in connection with the writing business that, hey, I need the headphones for specifically for doing these types of events. It makes it simpler, a
Mhm.
lot, a
Look,
lot.
Yeah.
I write off headphones I barely ever use, but I only use them for writing when I do use them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but in my
Mhm.
case, because I've
Yeah.
been doing this for
Yeah.
40
And
years and I have
I
almost
have to
90
admit,
books out. What's Phil, are you saying something? Okay.
okay. Oh, I was just looking at Brenda's private chat. She had to back out because her computer was acting up, and now she can't get back in.
Okay,
And
well,
Bob, I think you're the only one
Yeah,
who
Bob,
can
I
do
think
that.
I don't. I can see that
I'm learning to use. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, Bob usually listens, even if he turns his camera off. So, I'm yelling out to Bob to let Brenda back in.
Hey, we had
So
some
anyway,
questions in the
um,
chat that were interesting, and I think Phil, you were asked about what type of time management you use for recording. I can say what I do, which is about every quarter, because I may up
yeah,
that.
I used to do that. I'm just the last couple of years, the medical stuff has just been overwhelming. I don't I keep everything stashed in a file folder in one place so I don't lose my receipts. But I have only been recording like once a year, which takes all day.
Mm.
you do
And
realize,
which is not good. It's
yeah,
not good.
if you download a Quicken, and sometimes you can get Quicken for free, you can also download everything in your business bank account
Mhm.
into just by push of the button. So all you have to do is label what each one of those expenses are, and then you've got it all right there. You don't have to record it once a year.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do. I
I
do
know
it.
my son is one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go.
my son, every evening when he comes home from work, he pulls all the receipts out of his pockets and records them,
So
in whatever bookkeeping program.
now I
I'm
don't do
not
receipts.
that organized.
Receipts I'll have
No,
online.
I'm
I'll have
not
in a
that
file
organized.
drawer, but everything goes to what the
Yeah.
IRS is going to look at is your bank account. It's going to start with your January bank statement, end with your December bank statement, and try to make all those numbers equal whatever it is you're putting on your bookkeeping sheet or what have you. And it's much simpler if you
Mhm.
just go through the bank account.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have a receipt
Yeah.
for each thing in the bank account, but the numbers coming from your bank account are your best argument.
Yeah, I doing
Mhm.
what I keep an I keep Excel spreadsheets. I am old school. I do not like open office versions. They make me scream and throw things, even though Microsoft has its issues. But I generally what I do for is when I get Ingram pays me through PayPal. The only thing that doesn't pay me through PayPal writing wise right now is Amazon, and that goes through my bank account. And so I go to Amazon has its nice
Mhm.
little payment listings. So I go to that. It's about a couple of hours every couple months ago or so, I will sit down. I keep receipts for expenses that don't go through PayPal, like paying for the Nebula, paying for the Alley membership, paying for this or that. But I try to do it every 2 months because otherwise I'm kind of looking at it later and going, what the heck was this for?
So you do not have a dedicated business bank account other than PayPal?
Right. Yeah, I have not had enough income. I'm looking at changing that this year because I want to consider selling direct, and I want to have the option to monetize my Substack, and I have to go through a bank account. So I'm looking at changing that piece, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. I have a number of other things.
Yeah. One of the reasons I can't do retail out of my home is that if I set up a business account at my bank, my bank is a small independent, four branches. It's been in business 120 years. It has never been hacked, but major corporations do not recognize it as a legitimate bank. And our local pharmacist had to get his business account 20 miles away rather than next door because Medicare and commercial pharmacies would not accept the bank account from the local one.
I've never heard of that.
So that,
That's awful.
I love my local bank. Everybody knows me, and they know my problems and they know how to soothe me when the IRS yells at me because I get a check in my brother's name, even though he's been dead 3 years. But anyway, selling my books, my inventory out of my home is not an option at this point. So that is one thing for people to consider.
Yeah.
I've never sold books out of my home. There's no way I'm going to mail things. I just don't. But I have on my website a bookstore where you can buy ebooks directly from me. No inventory involved, but it does go through my large bank accounts. So I've never dealt. It's been a long time since I've dealt with a local bank because they all got eaten.
Yeah, the other thing to consider too is if you're when I'm talking selling direct, I'm talking ebooks. I'm not selling hard copy books out of my house for various reasons. Although I might consider that, but everything is pretty much drop ship if I'm going to start doing that. But the sales tax issue is one that I'm having to take a look at, because even though Oregon does not have a sales tax, any place that sells any place that sells my books that has a sales tax has to account for it, which is why I'm still going through the big distributors and being reluctant to go direct.
On my website for the ebooks, I have the software that handles the sales tax issue and the EU tax and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, what's your software, if you don't mind my asking?
You have to ask my assistant. She set it all up. But if you go in and do a Google search, I think you can probably. I follow a lot of writers' organizations, and they have tons of explanations, in the various Facebook organizations. If you want me to, I can send you a connection to like Club Indie or something like that, and you can just Google in their things and they'll list the various softwares and the various benefits and what have you. They explained it all to me, but I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in the position where it's very possible that I may suddenly become not so much an overnight success, but after I had the interview with Deborah Ross, all of a sudden I sold a massive amount for me of paperbacks on Ingram. I looked at that and went,
wow, paperback, yeah. Nice.
I discovered that I actually had I think people are buying my stuff through Bookshop is what's happening. And so I immediately got myself to Bookshop and set up my own little shop, and now I have several of my main series in paperback that are now listed there. So
Good. Okay.
Mhm.
I've been trying to learn about that, but I just,
yeah, that's been my reaction is
yeah. I'll
but
ask Monica.
yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I need to talk to you offline about the bookshop because I have been doing almost no promotion at all. I left it to Daw Books for so many years that I never really learned what I need to do as an independent to promote my work and sell elsewhere,
We could set up
to be findable.
we could set up a Zoom for
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
But I'm still learning, and I'm still. It's very strange, but when Twitter imploded, I ended up on a social media platform called Counter Social, and I ended up networking with a couple of writers there, and I discovered a very reasonably priced promoter. I mean, base fee is $18, and then you add on $10 for specific platforms that you
Wow.
want. And I'm
Wow,
going,
Yeah, that's pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah, it's NN Lights book. It's NN Lights promotion. And so, but I'm still learning that. But I work on organic promotion.
Yeah. For time management, I know one reasonably successful writer who spends all day Monday answering emails, doing bookkeeping, promoting, signing up for promotions, whatever. And then the rest of the week, he doesn't even look at it. He just does his writing. And I've considered that kind of thing because the business portion of our job does pile up.
It's expanding. Yeah, it really is. I can't,
Yeah.
I mean, if I did it one day a week, I would be sitting there with this mailbox that looks like, and I would go,
Yeah.
and it's,
I'm getting a request to
Yeah.
put a link to the chat, and I don't have that up, so I can't do that. But if you email me at jreynoldsward@gmail.com, I can send it to you. That's for the NN Light book promotion. So,
because we're
or I
all
can put it in the
promo.
BQ. I can go back. I can go to Facebook later. I'm still learning Restream. I'm sorry.
You gotta look up your social media. I'm doing Mastodon, and I'm not meeting anyone over there who knows much about writing.
Yeah, I bounced off. I have tried Mastodon several times and bounced off of it so hard that I tried Spoutable, and then that was I literally saw the Romancelandia scandal blow up there. I mean, I was on Spoutable, and Courtney Milan was talking about how much she loved it and she was going to donate. And then I go over to Twitter, and that was when when the whole Romancelandia thing blew up about Spoutable. Because what had happened was that a romance writer had put a fairly tame visual up, and she got banned. She got her account banned. And then it was put forward that all romance writers wanted to do was put up nude pictures on Spoutable. And that was it was a complicated story, but I saw it in real time. I saw what was happening. I saw that all of these people who were talking about how wonderful and sweet Spoutable was come over to Twitter and say very nasty things. And I'd already been getting a church lady vibe there. So I canceled my account.
No idea any of this was going on.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter is kind of interesting because people are coming back.
I noticed, yeah.
And so it is Mastodon, it seems to be everybody is either they love it or they just don't, or they struggle with it. And I was one
I'm not relating. I'm checking in every once in a while. And I did find help. I would ask a question and do the hashtag thing, and I got some nice answers. So that was helpful, but it's not promotion.
Yeah, and they really frown on promotion.
Right.
J. Scott Coatsworth, who is the chair of the Indie Authors Committee for SIFWA, got kicked off of one instance because he was promoting. Now, they helped him set up his own instance, but he's an LGBTQA writer and publisher, and Mastodon was supposed
what
to be
he
friendly.
wants.
Yeah. And he's publishing and he's writing. And for somebody of that prominence, so he jumped off there. And I mean, the counter social thing is more social, but there are writers there. And that was where I discovered, and it's N period, and you guys can find it. It's N period light, LIGHT. If you do a search on that, then you will get to the web page where they do the promotions.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, that is a great place to start, because what her group does is they do promotions and you buy into them, but they do giveaways, and part of the giveaway is a Kindle or another reading device. So, so people are incentivized to like participate. Readers are going to be looking at that, and it seems to be working.
Just
Yeah.
Because I work with a promotion guy too, and every so often I'll send out promos, and he'll do this great big thingy with a bunch of other authors who are like me, who write the same book that I'm promoting, and he'll go for mail newsletter lists or BookBub followers or Amazon followers or something like that. It's not sales; it's completely promotion. So I've increased my newsletter list and all that sort of thing, so I have a larger reach. But I'm not selling things except to my own readers.
Right. And I mean, promotion is an expense. Getting us back to taxes.
I used to do a newsletter. It was not a regular one, but I would frequently give away. I signed up with Book Bundle or Book Funnel, one or the other, and would occasionally I'd give away a short story.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the ones that got the most clicks on them. But I stopped doing the newsletter a couple of years ago because I ran out of energy more than anything. I understand that. And now, and now I really need to start up again, because I don't have DAW Books doing publicity for me anymore. I need to do it. And so I've lost all my followers on whatever media I was using for my newsletter. Now I have to build that up again.
Phil, what I would recommend is going over to Substack. It's a lot. I'm using Tiny Letter right now. I am tempted to move everything over to Substack, because I end up, if I'm putting in links, half the time it doesn't function properly. It chokes on pictures. And Substack is
Brenda,
so
you're
much.
back.
Brenda, yay!
Brenda's back.
Hallelujah.
But
mysteriously it went away.
But I honestly, if I was starting up a newsletter these days, I would go to Substack. You have the option of monetizing or not monetizing. I don't monetize. And it's easy to set up.
Bob just posted that he was doing his taxes rather than replying to our plea for help to get Brenda back in.
We can see you. I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah. So
Hear you.
anyway,
Can you hear me? Great.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But-
anyway, we've just been, one of the things that, is the business of writing is promotion, as well as keeping track of your receipts for taxes, and what is deductible and isn't. If I don't know about hotels, earlier on the chat list, there was a question about hotels while renovating a home. And that I know nothing. That's real estate. That's not writing or small business. So, but anyway, have we exhausted the topic of taxes? I know we can never exhaust the topic of promotion. So this is part of my, B Cubed. Yeah. B Cubed Sunday morning is part of my promotion. Whenever Bob runs out of guests, I get the call Saturday night. Can you get up in the morning and do this?
Well, the one thing I would say too, in fact, promotion wise, I just had an interview drop this morning that I need, about talking about hope in the fantastical, which I am going to be spreading all over social media. But getting back to record keeping, I have been very remiss over the years in keeping track of my interviews, my convention appearances, everything. And I'm realizing now, I'm really regretting that I didn't sit down after every convention that I was a panelist at and make a note. These are the panels I was on. Did I do a reading or not? Did I do this? Did I do that? I really regret that I did not. Because you can use it promotional. You can use it as a resume. You can use it for promoting yourself. I now have a tab in my Firefox where interview happens. It gets slotted into there. It's like a bunch of my online stories. And I mean, this goes back to record keeping. I do not always keep track of where my stories show up online. And I should, because now I'm sitting here going, I have over 20 stories published. Actually, I have more than that. I'm just not sure. And then if I start counting and looking back at the weekly opinion article I did for the Portland State Vanguard when I was getting my master's degree in special education, I mean, those are still online, and I need to be kind of talking about those and promoting those, because I was bringing a science fiction perspective to the political events of 2003 and 2004.
Right. I'm in the process of sending my archive of copy edited manuscripts and whatnot to the University of Iowa. I think Brenda did this too. But they wanted at least a digital copy of all of my short stories. And I found, as you change computers, I had a number of short stories that are on old computers. And rather than sit down and retype them from the published copy, I had to really dig deep to find copies of some of them. But they are now all on this, which is an external hard drive. They're not on 65 flash drives. They're not on old computers. Some of them I even have page proofs for, but not many. So keeping that kind of record keeping is also very important. My novels,
things in Dropbox.
Yeah. My novels, I do have copies of everything. And Bob is in private chat still, and he says, old stories. Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, I have an award sitting on my wall from the 1995 Florida State Writing Competition where I was an honorable mention. I have no idea where that story is. It was, I mean, it was on 95. It had to be on either my first computer, which was a 286, which means it was word perfect, or it was on the 486, which was still word perfect. And who knows where that little puppy is. I have looked and looked, and I cannot find it. I really,
and I had some where I would, but as I found stories that I knew I had written, but I could not find on a hard drive or a flash drive, they are now all on my external hard drive.
External hard drives. External hard drives are wonderful. Yeah. When I got my MacBook Air, I had to update, and I had one. And so now once a month, I take a lot of pictures and I use them frequently in my promotion, sometimes for covers, and they're all landscapes. And so I'm backing up pictures, especially because until I separated photos from iCloud, I was maxing out my iCloud, which was a real pain. And so I'm backing up my pictures to my external hard drive. I don't trust any of the online archives. Flickr blew up on people. There were a couple of others that blew up on people. So yeah, external hard drive. Mine is like 2 terabytes.
But I have a huge Dropbox, and it is downloaded on every single one of our computers, and we have a dozen. So, I mean, all my ebook files, my short stories, everything eventually got into there, and all Dawn's photos and the digital files, they're all in Dropbox, and they're on every one of our computers. It's a little scary.
Dropbox. I need to do Dropbox more often because I don't always know how to work it. But Maya Catherine Bonhoff, who does a lot of my covers, uses Dropbox because those are huge files, and they clog up your email. So she's forcing me to learn how to use Dropbox.
Well, if I don't know what kind of computer you have, I have Dropbox directly on the computer, and I work only in Dropbox. I do not use PC or all those other little file things. I just go to Dropbox before I do anything, and that's where all my work is. It's where all my everything is. So I'm working in it without even knowing that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's pretty much me. If I have a separate folder for saving directly to the computer, which I will do if I know I'm going to go out to the woods. And yes, this works on Mac because you can set it up so that you save. I forget how I set it up, but I set it up in the beginning when I first had my very first iMac, that everything goes to Dropbox. Yes. And so it shows up as an icon when I bring up my file manager. I forget what the official Mac term is. I just do it. But I see
I have trouble trusting anything online. I know the cloud has been hacked numerous times. And I think I had a Hotmail address at one point, and I was editing an anthology, and Yahoo or Hotmail would not let me access those attachments without signing up for their version of the cloud. And I ended up getting, forwarding all those emails to a different email address so I could access them without going to, having an original previously unpublished poem by Ursula K. Le Guin, having it online. No, not going to do it.
Well, it's just that in Dropbox, it's on your computer. It isn't just on the cloud. It's on your computer as well. And if I'm traveling, I can pull up Dropbox on my phone, and it's all right there. So
yeah, like I said, I need to learn to use Dropbox better, but in the meantime, it's there for the covers at least. Some of them end up going into archive when I don't access them often enough, but I know where I can yell, please, Maya, help me, and she can help me find them. We're down to 5 minutes. So it's probably time to just say, what are you working on now? What came out last? And what are you doing? So Patricia, what are you doing writing wise?
Right now, I have the last book in my contemporary psychic solutions mystery series coming out in a few weeks. The Prism Effect. It's a series set in a small town with a family that's related to a lot of my other series, the Malcolm and Ives. The Malcolms are what is a good word for them? they're not exactly psychic.
So many of a lot of your series are braided together. Same family, different century, different location.
Yeah, if you want historicals, there's historicals. If you want mysteries, there's mysteries. And if you want romance, there's romance. But they're all sort of related to these Malcolm and Ives who have, the Malcolms are some way psychic, not reading minds so much as speaking to animals or seeing ghosts or just a little bit woo-woo out there. And the Ives, of course, are very scientific and hard-headed and automatic conflict.
Yeah, I have kind of the same thing going with my Martiniers.
There you go.
As Phil can tell you, although I've been veering more into romance these days rather than just straightforward science fiction. But I do have a standalone that it released last year, but the cataract interfered with me taking it wide. Beating the Apocalypse is set in the Pacific Northwest. It's a cozy apocalypse, you might say. It's a cli-fi.
I like that.
It's a cli-fi cozy apocalypse with a happy ending. So if you want your apocalypse with a positive, Beating the Apocalypse is now available wide. It's available in paperback. Amazon and Barnes and Noble have access to the paperback, or you can buy it from Bookshop. And so I have that going. I am putting my Netwalk Sequence, my first series, up in paperback in the new editions. So if you have see anything Netwalk Sequence that does not see 2022 author preferred edition, don't get it. 2022 is the one to get. And then there's the Martiniers. Phil has seen enough of the Martiniers, I am sure. But so anyway.
Okay, I'm cutting you off because we're down to 2 minutes.
Oh, Phil.
Brenda, what are you working on now that you're back? Brenda, are you?
I don't think she's hearing us.
Yeah, are you still having problems?
It's cutting in and out.
So, yeah, okay. My work in progress is actually my 50th book. And it's a kind of spin-off. Yeah. It's a spin-off of Yeah. And anyway, Family Bedrock is kind of a spin-off of the Tess Non-Quare series that people kept asking me for more in that series, and Tess's story is pretty complete. So she's a cameo character in that particular book, but she's there. And I'm re-editing 20 of my early publications that I got the rights back from Daw, and my very first book, The Glass Dragon, will be coming out from the Bookview Cafe in June in ebook and in print. I just got the ISBN from Bookview Cafe so that I can forward it to formatting. So, okay, and that leaves us, Brenda, if you're in. I'm getting stop action on the video.
Hearing.
And I'm not hearing her.
Yeah, it's I think it's on Brenda's end.
Uh,
And I'm sorry, Brenda.
There.
yeah.
But allow me to interrupt then, Phil.
Okay, we're done.
Because it's commercial time. You know, as you know,
What's
we're
happening?
BQ Press. Are you talking now, Brenda? Can you be heard?
Are you hearing me when I talk? This is so stupid. You know, it's like Ouija board. You know, can you hear me?
We're
Are
hearing
the spirits speaking?
Yes.
Okay.
Hear you.
Wrote 2 novels set in the 1950s, and the first one should be out in May. So, and there's a whole brouhaha relating to how that's coming out that we could talk about at some other time. It's very complex. But look, I have a cat. What more do we need out of life?
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Cat.
There you go. You can.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Go ahead.
I just want to remind you guys.
Right. Nice.
Post row alternatives. With the political season kicking up again, there is nothing more exciting for Republican politicians to do than to attack the choice issue, unless of course you're trans, then they'll want to attack you, or if you do drag, they'll attack you. Or if you believe in separation of church and state, they'll attack you. So it's all fun, which brings me to the point. BQ Press has got 2 open calls out right now that we are enjoying. Both will be published. One will be published this year. One will be published next year. The one that is open right now that y'all might be interested in is Madam President. It's been open for a while, but we've reworked the call a little bit to change our focus because we have, for the first time in ages, we have a Republican woman running for office in the White House anyway, for the White House. And can't forget Marjorie Taylor Greene. Someday could be your president.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see anybody fall over dead. Okay.
You didn't see my brows, Bob?
But anyway, and we have Scott's Planet, which is my personal favorite for current work right now. That one of my personal favorites, where you imagine yourself watching the old Star Trek episodes where they find lost colonies of Earth. Well, my question was, how the hell did they get there? And I blamed corporations who went out and thought that this colonization was a great idea until they found out it cost money to maintain them. And then they stopped and they said, you're on your own, have a nice day. And so this is the story of 1,300 colonists and what they do after what we call the exit. And it's a lot of fun. It's set on a near-Earth planet that is in the early Carboniferous period, which for those of you who are not paleontologists or whatever you would call those people, that is kind of a pre-dinosaur, lots of amphibians and bugs, age of the bugs. We got 11-foot-long centipedes that taste like lobster because, roly-polies are edible. And I'm told quite tasty. I'm not going to try it until I get really hungry. Maybe in the apocalypse. And later this year, I'm just letting you guys know, we're probably going to be putting out 2 open calls for more alternative theologies and more alternative apocalypse.
The first alternative theologies is my absolute favorite of all of the B Cubed anthologies. It was one of those where we were expecting a lot of snark about the hypocrisy of organized religion, but what we got was very thoughtful and thought-provoking collection of stories about why people believe and why they need to believe. And to me, it's the best of all of them.
Yeah, it's like our 4th bestseller of all time. It hit the bestseller list twice. And so we love that book, but we've decided to get those out. The calls will come out maybe in June, just sharing with you. And that said, B Cube Press is having fun. It's all about having fun. And I've enjoyed listening to you guys talk as I sit over here and download my 1099s from Kindle and KDP and PayPal and all the other things that my accountant seems to think I should give her.
Yeah.
Can't you find this stuff out on the web? But so we're having a hoot here. And I thank you all for coming and attending. And Pat, it's been a pleasure meeting you, getting to know you, going through the testing process. And I apologize profusely to Brenda because she
has been in and out.
Yeah. In and out. Yeah.
I can't figure out what happened here. It worked perfectly fine last week, and I haven't done anything. So
and it's working fine now.
Thing.
Yeah.
Okay. We did have a question. Dale wants to know the name of the anthology that I like so much. It's Alternative Theologies, edited by Bob Brown and Phyllis Irene Radford. It's paper and ebook on Amazon.
Yeah. The funny thing about that was there's a Methodist minister sent me back the feedback. She got 6 sermons out of that.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And she's now
solid gold in theological
it's a different title, but it's the Baptist equivalent of bishop. She's gone from a parish priest to bishop. And she's wonderful. She's delightful. She's also a good writer.
Yeah, we published her a couple of times.
Yeah.
But,
and I got so caught up in the Glass Dragon, I forgot to mention Changeling Dancers. This is in my Artistic Demons series. It's the 4th book. And it's a lot of fun. Where a changeling child thinks she's human and joins a dance competition. Kind of blows everybody away.
And it is fun. And I do thank you guys all, and I hope you join us next week when we will be having Tom Whitmore. Now, Tom Whitmore is, God, he's the virtual renaissance man of science fiction and fantasy. And if he doesn't know about it, hasn't read about it, doesn't have the book in his basement, it probably is not worth knowing. And he always brings wonderful guests on board, and occasionally he lets me hang around. Otherwise, I just say, and here's Tom. So that said, wave goodbye, everybody.